You found the coolest place to be, the PlayStation Collecting Center. Come on, won't you stay with me? Welcome to the show. Gather around the boys and girls, collectors from around the world. Let's show the people what they need to know. Welcome to the show. Gonna talk to guests, only got the best. Gonna put their knowledge to the test. Gonna laugh at me, gonna live the dream. Gonna show you things you've never seen. Gonna sing the song to the break the dawn. Gonna run this party all night long. So come on everybody, let me see you dance. Get yourself ready, you got one more chance. You found the coolest place to be, the PlayStation Collecting Center. Come on, won't you sing with me? Welcome to the show. Gather around the boys and girls, collectors from around the world. Let's show the people what they need to know. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Hey.
Welcome to the PlayStation Collectors Podcast, Season 4, Episode 25. My name is Joe Red. And today I'm proud of myself. We used the intro video thing correctly for the first time ever. We actually bothered to, we pay for the service and we actually learned how the buttons worked. All right. Not bad. Excited about it. It unmuted us correctly and I didn't have to mute everybody. It's amazing.
Didn't have like a 5-second delay before the start of the show. Like
No,
usual?
you didn't hear that 1 second where right before we start, you hear someone and then it starts the show. It's always so. It's a random F-bomb and then the thing is going. Anyway, joining us this evening is my illustrious co-host, Mr. Figsy. How you doing, buddy?
Hey. What's up, everyone?
Yeah. And our special guest this evening, all the way from the icy hills of black metal Norway. No, I'm just kidding. Mr. Cold Winter Gaming. How you doing? Cold Night Gaming. Jesus Christ.
How are we doing, guys?
What's up, man? Welcome on.
Good to be here.
Goodness, man.
I love that intro, man. That was something else.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna have to spruce it up a little bit. The season's getting a little long in the tooth. We're on episode 25. What do we usually go to? 35, something like that? 38?
45. The last two seasons both made it to 45.
Yeah, but we were doing 2 episodes a week consistently, and
Yeah.
so I feel like we should be close to the end. So maybe at season 5, I'll redo the song and make it a little sprucey, and then redo the intro or something like that. But thank you very much. For those who don't know you, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do a little bit.
All right. So my name's Jay. I run the Cold Nights Gaming channel over on YouTube. Just actually went to work as the exclusive streaming partner for Premium Games. So
Premium edition.
do a lot of streaming of JRPGs on my own channel, and obviously premium titles over there with them. We just did a rockin' one last night for Elisa. Really great survival horror throwback game. Either you guys played that?
I haven't, but I caught a little bit of the stream. I watched it a little bit after, and yeah, it looked good.
Stuff. That is tough as hell too. But yeah, so on the channel we mainly cover collecting with a real focus on value. I'm one of those people. I don't believe that YouTubers are messing up the market values and stuff. Value is important to me in collecting. So it's something I'd like to discuss. We have a cool series over on the channel called These Games Are Worth How Much. And recently we've been doing discussions about collecting, and I've been having a great time doing that. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on.
Very cool. And then I did also notice recently you just crossed the 1,000 subscriber threshold.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's one of my big things, believe it or not. I'm about to turn 41, and when I first wanted to get into YouTube, I had a couple friends that were actually kind of nasty about it when I brought it up, and they literally were like, "What do you think people on YouTube want to see? They don't want to see some fat old guy on there talking about video games."
Well, let's wrap it up then. Show's over, guys.
Right? And they were legit, don't do it. And I literally made it my mission to, go out there and have interesting conversations with people, try to make interesting videos and build a good, knowledgeable, friendly, supportive community. And I've kind of seen that happen in the 2 years that I've been going. So I saw that the 1,000 subscribers is kind of like the pinnacle where I'm at now. We'll keep going, but I'm really glad to hit that milestone.
Nice, congrats, man. And it's just one of those things. Like, it doesn't actually matter who is behind the camera. It's about what type of content they're putting out and what they're talking
Absolutely.
about.
Hey, listen, I think the retro game community has proven that we will definitely watch old fat dudes talk about video.
Yep.
What are you talking about? Just kidding. Honestly, I when it comes to nerd culture and stuff like that, I don't think being like super attractive or good looking is like that. I mean, it's an advantage, I guess, but it really doesn't matter. What nerds want, you got to know what you're talking about. Otherwise, you'll be exposed as a fraud, and you will not succeed in an environment, because, like, retro gaming, there's people who just dabble in it and they play a couple other retro games, and then there's people who are sitting there talking about like the electronics they use to create these things, and they're delving into like all the different differences between each system and all the chipsets, and like it's such, people are so into it. Like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, you have to thrive in this community, like you got to know what you're doing more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
I
I
comes
see it as
down
like,
to the people watching too. Like, if you say misinformation, your viewers will be pretty quick to correct you and what you've said that's wrong and different.
Oh yeah,
like
and you got to own it right away. Like, we've all done it. You say something wrong, something in the comments, you're like, "Yep, yeah, I'm wrong on that. I want to like pin that comment. I don't want to." But I totally get what you're saying, Joe. Like, there's people that are into retro games, like they bought an NES Classic and they're happy. And there's people like me where I don't keep clothes in my chest of drawers. It's Nintendo carts in the drawers and Super Nintendo carts in the drawers because it'll hold more than a bookcase. So like there's definitely, there's people that are in the games, and then there's people that are like truly into the retro scene. And I think there's kind of like a camaraderie and like a kinship with that. And I'm not one of those people that's super picky about what I consider retro. Like, to me, retro, PS2 is retro, PS1. Some people are like, no, nothing past like Super Nintendo. But like, you guys are big PlayStation collectors, and I have a huge PS1, PS2 collection. And we were talking about pre-show, the Vita and the PSP. I love that stuff, and I consider that all retro. And even I think we're even getting to the point where like maybe PS3 is too, as we keep moving forward. Because I know that I feel the same excitement when I find like a beautiful PS3 title in good shape with the pamphlet and everything at like a GameStop or in like a pawn shop. I'm like, hell yeah, so similar.
Well, we're talking about your collection, Jake. Tell us about your collection. What systems you've got, and what type of games.
So I started years and years ago, and this might upset some people, but I was a reseller. I would go picking at physical stores, pawn shops. Oh yeah, the bad guy. Goodwill, Salvation Army, grabbing up anything I could for toys, collectibles, video games. I also specialized in sports memorabilia and trading cards and TCG cards. And at one point, when the orders got too overwhelming, I stopped doing it, but I kept buying. But we used to go all in. Like, I used to liquidate video stores. Like, I remember picking up 200 PS2 titles when a Video Update went out of business. And one of my greatest regrets, actually, is they had a beautiful disc refurbishing machine. And like, it was a beautiful resurfacer. And it wasn't like one of the cheap, crappy ones. Like, this would really get the job done, because they offered that service. Like, before they closed up, you could go in, and I think they were charging like $2 or $3, and they would resurface your discs. And like, they offered me a great price on, I don't remember what it was. And we're talking like 12, 13 years ago. But I walked away from that. And I wish I had that in my house right now. It would help so much with the collecting aspect. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely focus a lot on retro stuff. Basically have all the consoles. I don't have like a CDI, but I do have Jaguar. That was a classic. I actually picked that one up at a flea market. Jaguar's famous for having a terrible port of Doom. And of course, that was one of the games they had with it. But yeah, I mean, I got really big into PlayStation 1 because that was like the stuff that was during my formative years. You know, that's
Yeah.
when I was 12, 13 years old. So I had a lot of that left over, but I also picked up that stuff whenever I saw it. Even if it was like a really crappy game, I still grabbed it if it was like complete. I have like full books of loose discs. Like I would never turn anything down. And that's kind of like what I've been talking about in some of my videos recently. Like at some point you have to stop that. You know, when I have PS1, probably, you know, 150, 200 titles. The PS2, I think I'm at like 350 or 400. PS3, same thing. PS4, same thing. I'm like, what am I doing? Like I'll literally die before I can get to all these things.
Healthy to me. So I don't know, maybe I'm a weirdo, but like when people say I have X amount of PS2 games and X amount of PS1 games, I look at the overall size of the library and I'm like, that sounds about right. I know that seems like a lot, but the PS1, if you have like 200 PS1 games, that's probably about right what I would expect someone to have from that library. Like, unless you're crazy and you like everything, sounds about right. The PS2 is massive library. It's like 18.
So 500 is a normal number for the PS2.
Yeah. 400 or 500. I know that sounds like a lot of games, but it sounds about right to me about what I probably have like 300, 250, 300, something like that. PS2 games, you know, and like there's definitely more I want. It's not everything I want, but I don't know. It's weird to me. I guess it's all about perspective. But like, you know, the N64 is a smaller library. So if you only had like 50 games, I'd be like, okay, you know, or like
It's still collecting almost, you know, 10% of the library. It's even more than 10%. You're looking at like 350 games. So you've knocked out like 15% of the library of that.
Right.
Look at the PS4 using that same argument, Joe. You could have 1,000 games and it's still not even a quarter of the library, you know, and the PS4 has so many quality titles. You could use the Switch as well. Like 1,000 Switch games isn't crazy because there's like 4,000 of them.
But see, the problem is though, when you're doing that for every system, you really start to take up the space in your home to the point where it's like encroaching in your living area. Like I was telling Joe before we started the show, like I have storage units that have, you know, like Sterilite tubs of games and of, you know, because I won't throw the box away for anything. So, you know, anything that I had bought and had the box with it, that's in the storage units. And like old, like third party, like garbage controllers, like all this stuff that like
you have a Mad Catz locker.
Yeah, Mad Catz. Yeah. Like realistically, if some of the stuff went away, I probably wouldn't miss it because it's not something that I mess with every day. But I think also when you were kind of touching on like the size of those libraries, if you have 400, say PS2 games, but you've been grabbing everything from stores. So like if you're grabbing like crappy racing games and your yearly sports games, like that's different. Like my collections for that stuff are kind of curated because when I would like do the liquidations and stuff like that, like I would be kind of picky because I was having like an eye for the resale of it. And of course, like I said, I stopped reselling, but I still have a lot of that stuff. So I definitely, you know, like I play MLB The Show every year. I put 700 hours into the one this year. But I only really, as far as sports games, have the ones that I personally adored, like the NBA and NFL 2K games on the Dreamcast. I have my original Sega Sports Dreamcast, the black one that says Sega Sports. A lot of people have never even seen that. And, you know, I love those games. Or, you know, certain games on like the GameCube or the PS2 that were like the baseball games that I was like obsessed over. But like a lot of people will go into like a Goodwill and just buy everything. They're like, yeah, I picked up NHL 95, 96, 97, 98. Like, it's fun to see those, but a lot of times, like, I will turn them down. I'm like, I don't need that.
It's almost like unless someone's going for a full set, there's no real reason to collect those things.
Yep.
I can especially relate to the PS2 because over the years, my PS2 collection went to 500 games like 10 years ago, and then I culled it down to 200 games, and then it wouldn't be like the Goodwill and I walk in and buy everything, but it would be like I buy a big lot of 50 games on Facebook, and I just keep all the ones I don't own because, oh, well, they're free, so I'm just going to keep it.
Right.
And then, 3 or 4 years later, I'm like, what have I got all this shovelware in here for? I'll cull it again. And I'm at the point now where my PS2 collection, almost every single game, like I could tell you why I own it. I own this because I like that series, or I played that, or I had fun doing this, or it's part of this series that I collect for. And, it almost all has a reason that it's in the collection. And it's still at the 400 or so mark, but it's at the point where I almost own everything that I want to own.
That's one of the beautiful things about game collecting that I think a lot of people don't talk about. And you really have to get in a room with people like us, is that a lot of it, you may not remember all of it, but a lot of it has stories to it.
Uh-huh.
Like it might be one of your original games, or it might be a game that you had and you traded in when you were younger, then you saw it again and you're like, oh, dude, I need to get that again. Or like crazy deals you got on it when you were out picking or, browsing online. Like it's cool to be able to, share those stories with people that value those stories. A lot of people, like you tell them, oh, dude, I got Ark the Lad for only $5. They're like, who cares? You know what I mean? But
yeah, but it's like, oh, Joe Rad sent me this, my friend from America, and when I look at this game, I don't just look at the game. I think of Joe as well, and our friendship, and that was a part of that trade, and it was hard for him to get that, let alone me getting it. It's from another country and things like that.
Hello Kitty Cruises. Still remember sending you that. So I think you make a valid point, because there are definitely games in my collection that like I never even owned them. They were never in my collection, but they were games that I played with somebody else that I care about in my life, or someone I miss, or something like that. Like a perfect example, I have a Unreal Tournament on the PS2. And like, it's not like that's a great, I would rather play that game on a PC or something like that than a PS2. But I remember specifically hanging out with this one person all the time, playing that game at their house. And like, it was one of those things where I was out and about shopping and I saw it and I was just like, all those memories came flooding back. And I'm like, this to me reminds me of that person and that part of my life. So I like having it on my shelf because it just, every time I'm like, oh, remember that? I remember those times, so it can bring you back and connect you to people and events in your life and stuff like that.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but like my wife is a pretty big gamer, like not as big as me. But like when we were dating, when we were younger, like there was games that we played together, almost would like take turns, or like I'd get to a certain point and then she'd get to it and then I'd stop. And so like to somebody like a common title, like Final Fantasy X, that might be worthless to them. But me and my wife, back when we were like kids dating, basically played that together for the solid like 60 or 70 hours going back and forth. And like, that's might sound kind of geeky, but like, that's a memory that we have together. That's like part of our marriage,
Nice.
And, there's other games like that. Like a lot of people aren't crazy over like Silent Hill for the Room. Right. But I had just had a medical procedure and I was out of it and I wanted to play it because I was a huge Silent Hill fan, but I just wasn't up to it. And she literally played the game for me. And like, I watched her play it. And I can remember like laying on the couch all like groggy and feeling terrible and watching her play the game for my entertainment. And like, that's a wonderful memory. And so, a lot of people, the game has some value. I want to say it's going for like 90 or $100 right now, but like a lot of people like, that game's not very good. Regardless of whether it's good, which I would still argue that it is, I have like really fond memories of it because of that. Do you guys have like crazy memories with like your girlfriends or spouses or anything?
Or playing with friends, or even a game you play on Twitch to viewers or something like that. And I think what's interesting is games can have stories like that, or it can have like a collectability side of the story. Like this game got traded around the community, and that's how I got it. I like to look at my collection like, some games I've got in the collection because I want to play them. Other games I've got sealed just because I want to collect them. And it's still part of the same hobby.
So that's a point that I stress all the time on the show that I don't think a lot of casual visitors of the hobby kind of understand. Like I see people all the time. They'll be like, why do you like do this? Like, why do you collect all these games, especially when you know you can't play them all? Like, I remember there was a couple streams ago, someone's like, these guys don't play all their games. Well, guess what? Yeah, you're right. There's no way I'm gonna play all my games. I'm sorry. I know that upsets you. I own like 3,500 games, and I would love to play them all. I would, but unfortunately, I have to work, and I have to pay bills, and I have to like feed myself, take showers, sleep, see my family. You know, I just can't sit in a room and play 3,500 video games. So then people say, well, why buy more? What's the point of this? And like, I've always tried to like point this out. So it's a distinction that like collecting in itself is its own hobby that is fun, separate from the actual playing of the games, which is its own hobby that is fun. It's not the same thing. I could collect anything and have fun. I could collect action figures from when I was a kid, all the He-Mans, all the Ninja Turtles, all the Power Rangers. That would be fun. I could collect every VHS tape that I owned when I was a kid. I would have fun doing that. I could collect every metal band that I like from the 90s on try to get all their vinyl albums, and I would have fun doing that. Like, that is itself fun. I just choose to collect video games because I also like to play games, and that's like, I don't think people like can wrap their head around that. And one more point I just want to make real quick is that when people collect stamps, do they fucking mail them? Do they use them? No, they don't. They put them on a shelf and they enjoy the stamp, and they tell you where it came from and how much it costs and why it's special and why they got it. And that's what they do. When people buy action figures on the card stock, do they open them up and play them? Play with the fucking things? No, they keep them in the card stock and they display them and they show them and they admire them and they explain, this is a Star Wars figure from 1982, blah, 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 it's still in the box, blah, blah. Like, I know it frustrates people because games are like more like people like to play them. They think, you know, but it's the same thing, guys. Sometimes you just buy something because it's collectible and it's nice. And it's rare, and I got it for a great deal, and I want it on the shelf, and I like this display, and I like looking at it, and I like talking about it, and I like explaining. Like, it's so that's the difference, and that's so, you know, if you're just someone who wants to just play games, then yeah, it doesn't make sense to do this. But if you like collecting stuff, it does make sense. So,
going off that, Joe, I found that people who had that opinion was a lot stronger when I first got into collecting, like 11, 12 years ago, than today, because more people today understand the value of video games. They've seen, you know, the Facebook posts of games going crazy, or they've heard about people selling games on eBay or selling them on Facebook. So it's, you know, they can look at a big collection and understand that there's value in this collection, and I can see why you're doing this, and that makes sense, and that's pretty cool. Where back in the day, it was like, why do you have more than you can play? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I remember like having to explain that so often when I first got into collecting. It's just like, well, I'm going to keep doing this because I'm having fun. And
yeah, I'm having fun. And people don't get that there's like a whole different joy of it. And like not this show is a great example of like why I like collecting, because there's a whole community of people who like collecting. And I've made lots of friends talking about this. And like, it's got its own social thing like with it that I wouldn't get if I was just buying digital games by myself sitting in a room. Like, I don't know, it's just not the same.
So I would say also there's kind of a third layer to what you were talking about there, you know, for especially for folks like us, and that's the content creation aspect of it. I was actually talking to someone the other day, and I was like, sometimes I get frustrated because there's games I want to play for myself, and there's games that are either relevant or I promised that I would stream that I feel obligated to play, or sometimes it's vice versa, where like right now I'm doing a stream series on Tales. We just finished up Xenoblade Chronicles X. And right now I'm playing Tales of Phantasia, and I want to play that so bad for myself. And in my off time when I'm not streaming, I want to play it, but as a person that streams often, and it's a big part of my following, I have to save the story beats for the stream. Like, I can do grinding or little things, but I can't play 10 hours of Tales of Phantasia and show back up and be like, hey guys, here's a recap of what happened. So it gets a little frustrating there, but it also becomes dangerous because I've caught myself buying things
Mm-hmm.
to stream, or buying things because I wanted to show them off on Instagram or Twitter, or talk to my friends about it. And I'm like, wait, if I wasn't a content creator, I don't think I would have bought this, because I wanted to show it off, or I wanted to talk about it, or I wanted to stream it and share it with them. I might have walked away from it before. So I think that can add another level of depth to the intensity of the collecting. And it has a little bit of effect on the playing too. Yeah.
I've definitely bought games to like not to play, not to stream, but to show in a YouTube video,
Yep.
just the games. It's like that's, I guess that's pushing on the line. But then there's the other part where it's not even content creators. Like people just post on Facebook their pickups, and then they feel like they're obligated to keep buying and keep buying and keep buying. And this other guy's bought all these games, so I need to match that and buy all these games. And I've seen that throughout communities before, and spoken to people and found out that, I've got no money, I just keep buying these games and things like that. And it's like everyone's in a different position, and you might be talking to a millionaire who's, these games are nothing to him, and he's just doing it because it's fun when you're struggling to do it. So everyone's on their own journey, and like, you can own 10 games and you got enough content to last you hundreds of thousands of hours, or you can own 10,000 games, and that person could be happy doing that and not struggling. Like, you've got to find that middle ground and make it accessible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I know anyone, what that person's comment had been, that spend so much money on their games that they can't. Like, I've never got to the point, even with what I would call an addiction, where I've made myself destitute through it. There's obviously still like money that has to be left for your bills and stuff. And, I make good money in my day job. I don't really have to worry about what I'm buying, but I mean, has my game collecting probably impacted like my savings for the future? Yeah, probably.
True.
My son's probably not going to an Ivy League school. He's probably going to be doing like a state school. But like, I don't think I've ever seen it to that extreme. I mean, have you guys ever had that where you've overspent so badly that you're like not really sure what you're going to do?
I've definitely seen it. And when I was first into collecting, I was, spending every dollar I had on video games, and it was a matter of like not saving money and just blowing it all on video games for as long as I can. And looking back, to be honest, I've got no regrets, because most of this stuff has gone up in value. But
honestly, I was gonna say that, as sad as it sounds, some of the best investments I've made are my game collection. I bought one lot for like 500. That's worth like $5,000 now. It's like you never know. So,
and it's constantly advanced. Like, I remember pre-COVID, when I picked up a couple of my big hitters. Like, I remember sitting on eBay, and I had a choice. I was going to get 2 of the 3. And I'm looking at 3 entries, and I had Kuon for like 150. There was Ruler Rose for like 100, and a fresh Suikoden 2 for like 100. And I went with Ruler Rose and Suikoden 2 because Suikoden 2, I had traded in my childhood copy to Funkoland, and I really wanted that back to the memories. And Ruler Rose, all the, the hoopla around it and all the crazy stuff that was supposed to be in it. And I chose those 2, but I ended up paying about $200 for them together. And Suikoden's come down now because those remasters are coming out. But the Ruler Rose game, it's still $550, $600. It goes back up and down. Just to think, that was 10 or 11 years ago, and it's gone up that much. It's pretty crazy. And luckily, the ones that they found were European copies. I don't know if you guys saw that story.
I was just about to say, what's crazy for me is it's the opposite, where the Suikodens are $400-$500, and then you can now grab Ruler Rose for like $300.
Yeah. Yeah, we lucked out that there wasn't any North American copies tucked away there.
But it makes sense, because that UK copy was pulled from shelves originally. Yeah. So where was these copies that got pulled? Or it's just these copies finally making the marketplace like 25 years later.
It's all about perspective. Like, I've talked about this before. Like, if you are a reseller or you're flipping games all the time, then I mean, the dollar value investment of your collection does matter to you. But like, I like, it's funny, like, people like, what would you do if the games crashed and were cheap again, I'd be like, buy more games. Yay. I wouldn't even be mad for a second. I like, I really wouldn't. Like I don't like that the hobby has become like almost fashionable and it's like really expensive. People are flexing like, you know, their Final Fantasy PS4 is like they were like, you know, it's like it's gotten. I don't really like that aspect of the hobby. I preferred it when it was cheap and just a bunch of dorks liked it and nobody cared, and it was more fun and like, you know, only like a handful of people knew what the games were that are valuable. I don't know. It's just different now. It's less. I don't know. It's not that it's less fun. It's just different. Still
it's
fun.
brought other people into the hobby. Like, look at the 30th anniversary stuff.
But
I've seen more scalpers than collectors show off their stuff, you know.
The financially motivated people in the hobby I could do without. Like, no offense. Like, it's not as fun to have people come in who have no nostalgia for this stuff. They have no intention of playing the games. They have no interest in them. They are literally, it is just product they're flipping. That's fine. You know, it is. That's the business people who do that with everything out in the world, but it's just, it's a lot of it now. And it's, I don't know. I prefer the games be cheap. I don't want them to be this crazy expensive. It doesn't like make me happy when I find out my game that I have is worth a lot of money. All I do is to go, oh, thank God that I got that copy when I did, because I would never own that shit now. And like, there's like lots of games that were on the pre-COVID list, they call it. There were these games that were like $40-$50 that I'm like, oh, that's a lot of money. I'll get to those later. We'll get to that. Don't worry. And now they're all $150 to $200. And I'm like, well, off the list.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I've been removing games from my list that, you know, I've gotten to a silly price because I'm like, well, I wanted this when it was $50. And it was always one of those things like, if I could find it for 35, I'd grab it. But now it's 150, and I'm like, I don't really want it that much. I probably want these other three $50 games rather than this one.
Exactly.
That's in the video I put out today, talking about the value of games and the gameplay per hour thing. That's why I've recently been really into handheld stuff. And I know that like the DS and the GBA have gone up some, but especially with like JRPGs and stuff, you can find some really good games like that GBA port of Tales of Fantasia. I got that. You know, it isn't complete. You almost never will find the GBA boxes. You're really lucky to find that, but it had the pamphlet in great shape. The cart works, and I got it for like $25. And that's a 40-50 hour game. It's something that people have not got to play, so they're really interested in streaming it. And I paid $25 for it. But I could go out and get Tales of Destiny 2 if I was playing Tales games for $200, and I'm not going to. Like, I have Tales of Destiny 1 and I loved it, and I've never got to play Tales of Destiny 2, but I won't pay $250 for it. That's too crazy. I can play Tales of Fantasia and get to experience the first game in the series for the first time for myself and share it with my friends and viewers for literally a tenth of the price of Tales of Destiny 2. And to me, that's insane. And maybe a couple of years ago, I would have chose the more expensive game. But like now, I think part of me actually might have matured, and I'm being a little smarter about the decision. So
we also live in an age, Jake, where if you just want to play it for the viewers, you can emulate it and play it for free. You know, you don't need to go and spend $300 on a game.
Can't do that.
I agree with emulation when it's in that case. Like, you know, for someone who's 18, 19, 20 and say they want to play all the old Pokemon games, they're not going to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They can go and play them for free on emulations and have just a good experience, or go and play PS1 games from our childhood that are like $500 and, you know, have no way of accessing it. So there is good sense when it comes to
for those of us that came up with them, and yes, like I do have, you know, a couple hacked handhelds and stuff, and I'm not going to say I don't do any of that, but it's so special just to have them, or even just like while you're streaming to hold up the case and be like, hey guys, this is a real genuine physical game. You know, I love it. And at first I was even weird about stuff like the Retron. Like when I got my Retron 5, which is one of my favorite things I own, I was like, oh man, this is like console emulation. Like this feels gross. Like you should have all your consoles out. Well, yes, I do have Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, a Sega Genesis, and a Game Boy Advance, but to have them all out in my work area would be a
Mm-hmm.
real pain in the ass. The Retron, though it's not perfect and sometimes it doesn't read games well and stuff, is a great thing to not have those all out there. So like, I definitely get it. And I used to be resistant to a lot of that, but it's so special to me to just hold it up and be like, yes, I have it. Even if I'm not sharing it with someone, you know, it's just cool for me to have. Like, that's why when they put out all those like anniversary consoles, you know, they're the little minis and stuff. Like, I bought them all,
Yeah,
but
no.
I would I'd rather play my Persona 1 game than play Persona on the PlayStation
True.
Classic. You know, even though that's way easier to do. And I did a Persona retrospective with Phil, and the only time I ever loaded up Persona on that PS1 Classic was to record the footage because it was easy with the HDMI.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only time I ever did it. Any other time, if it's Persona 1 or Persona 2 on the PS, like, I'd rather have those games in my hands and play them. So that's still special. So like, I'm a little resistant to the emulation stuff, but yeah, it's kind of like a gray area.
So for me, so this comes back to our overall topic. It's, you know, when is it time to stop collecting? Like, when I started out, I was, you know, sort of like what you were doing. I was just buying everything I liked. I'm like, oh, cool, Atari games, I like Atari. Oh, cool, NES games, I like NES. Oh, cool, Wii game, I like Wii. Oh, cool. I was buying a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit, and like right away, like, I could tell my collection was going to get too big, and it was like going to spill out in the living room, and I wasn't going to have space for it all. And so I had to decide, like, right then and there, like, kind of like, what do I really want? Because I have limited space. I can't just buy everything. And I can't, the amount of time and effort and work it goes into getting all of the OG consoles, hooking them all up to a CRT, getting all the wires, getting all the power adapters, getting the 50 power switches and all of the AV switches, and then all the power bricks plugged in that are 15, that are huge. And it's a lot of time and effort and space and commitment. And then when you have all of that set up, like, how often are you visiting all of these old consoles? Are you popping on the Saturn every day? Are you playing the NES every day? Are you doing that? Some people yes, some people no. It's just a lot of space, and I didn't have it. So it made me choose. Like, I was like, I love PlayStation the most. PlayStation 1 was like my jam. That was like the emotional console that had started this whole journey for me. I wanted to build my PS1 collection up. And I focused on that. And so emulation for me has always been a way to supplement my collection in a way. So like, I love NES. Like, I love NES. I would love to have a giant cart collection of NES. I just don't really have the space. And so for me, I can, the emulation is good enough. I can play my NES games on a little handheld or whatever I want to do. Good to go. Same thing. Sega Master System. Absolutely love it to death. But I just don't want to have the CRT in the living room. And so like, I kept everything disc based. And I have it so I can hook it all up to modern TVs easily. I have like a PS3 backwards compatible HDMI that plays all my PS1, PS2. You know what I mean? Like, it's all hooked up in the modern living room, and it's all usable. And so like, for me, that's how I dealt with the when is enough. Like, I had to set boundaries for myself and focus on my collection. Otherwise, it would just get out of hand. And I would end up with, like you said, storage units full of stuff I'm not using. I can't display, I can't access it. And I'm like, I didn't want it to get to that point for me. So that's how I dealt with it.
I think that setting boundaries is an important thing. Like, I've said on the show before that I've got a rule when it comes to my collection, and the rule is if it's not on display, it's on eBay. So I don't keep anything that I don't display, because I have in the past, and I figure, what's the point? You know, if I'm not actively showing it off, I may as well sell it and buy something that I do want to show off, because there's plenty of, you know, I got plenty of empty spaces here. So let's do that. So a lot of things like collector's editions, I won't buy anymore because I bought them in the past and they just take up so much room and they're not that cool. Like, I don't collect statues, I collect video games.
Yeah, see, like, I actually dislike collector's editions so much that unless it's a specific series that I'm obsessed with that has like a beautiful figure or something that it came with, the answer is always no. On my videos on my channel, these games are worth how much. Collector's editions are like disqualified from it. It's only regular retail releases. When we're talking about like values and stuff, like I won't even talk about them. I considered making videos about them, and I honestly just don't care about it enough. Like I'll see these people showing them off, and I'm like, wow, the only people that are more out of control than me with their game buying are the ones that are buying these. Like, because I know I have some friends, and I'm not insulting anyone. You collect how you want.
Yeah, nobody's
if you can cover it, good for you.
We should have started the conversation off.
Yeah,
like nobody here is like criticizing how anybody collects or what.
Yeah, because I definitely could.
You want to have 50,000 fucking games? Do it. Like I'm not. Go ahead. Like if you want every inch of your house covered with gaming stuff, do it. I'm not here to say not to do that. I'm just showing you, trying to explain. Like for me,
the only time I've ever really picked up collector's editions is when they were on like a ridiculous deal. Like I got the Xenoblade Chronicles 1 collector's edition with the huge art book and everything at GameStop for like $40. I don't know why they had it marked down. I just grabbed it because it was a great deal and it was worth like double that. But like I never buy anything like that. Like it would have to be something real special for me to get it. And I would probably just take the figure or the standees out and display them, and the box would just go on the shelf with everything else. I've seen people, you look at their setup and it's just, this is a special console box. This is a special edition box. And I'm like, whoa, that's a little busy. Like I like just what you guys have. And unfortunately it's not with my setup. It's on the other side of the room. Bookcases, you have your games, by console, and they're just in there. It reminds me of a video store or a library or something like that. I've never been a person that like wants to prop up my games, and I've seen people that buy like the little easels and they have like their games displayed like that. Like I don't have space for that. Like maybe if you have a smaller collection, but just the controllers and like especially in my workstation, like I got all my consoles over here. I got the Wii U sitting up here. I got 2 monitors, controllers for all those systems laying everywhere. It's ridiculous. Like I couldn't add anything to that.
Another thing to add, which is quite interesting, but collector's editions aren't, let's talk back to the money side of things again, aren't very good investments. As someone who's bought and sold like 150 of them, the thing of collector's editions, if you're selling them, especially online, you got to post these things. Some of them can be $50 to $100 just to post it. Like I lost money on a lot of collector's editions I bought, where a lot of the games I sell, you're making profit on them, because if you're actively buying, hunting for deals, and you're selling it, the postage is only a couple of dollars, and you're not losing all your money on fees and postage and different things like this, which you don't even think about when you're buying these things, let alone the space that it takes up and different things like that.
The last expensive collector's edition I bought, and this is how long ago it was Horizon Zero Dawn that had that beautiful Aloy statue. And she has a cube on my PS4, because I use cubes to display my games, and she's got a whole cube. And that's the one little easel I have. I have the Steelbook of Zero Dawn. I have her statue. And then the other 5 cubes in the bookcase are just games. That's the last one I bought, so that's that long ago. I think it was that in Tekken 8, because they had like a cool ass... like Heihachi was fighting one of the other guys, and it's like a huge statue. That's too big to display. It's in my closet. I have it, but those are the last 2 I bought.
I bought the Elden Ring collector's edition when it first came out, and then I sold it like a year later, and I looked it up like a month ago, and it's still at the same price when it came out. So it's like, if I have this fear of missing out, I can just go and buy it, and it's less than what I paid for it originally. Like, collector's editions these days are mass produced, and they want people buying them. They target collectors with the name. They put collector in it. Really, collectors just want the games. Like, let's be honest.
So I'd say probably my unhealthiest buying habit is kind of what you said, where you were like, the only reason I bought this collector's edition, it was just such a good deal. And I am very vulnerable to the it's a good deal thing. I have... If you look at my collection and you go through the games and you're like, why do you own this? I bet most of the ones that I don't want to play or I don't want to own, I'm like, it was cheap. I couldn't. It was just such a good deal. It's been $50 for 2 years. I saw it on sale for $15 that I couldn't say no. I just, it's so cheap. You're making me buy it. Like, so there's like certain stuff like that. And I'd say that's my most toxic purchasing habit when it comes to collecting right now. And I'm trying to do that less. Like, where just because it's cheap and just because it's a great deal doesn't mean I need it. Doesn't mean I have to buy it. I have to really like stop and think, like, will I play this? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, is this collectible enough to just to have it in my collection? And if the answer is no, I shouldn't be buying it. I shouldn't be buying this game. It's just like, I don't need it. So, yeah. Yeah, he said, Curious said, I don't care about showing off. Just put playing experience in my games. And that's honestly how I am too. Like I have lots of expensive, great stuff in my collection, but I don't really show it off. Like I don't flex that sort of things because it's like, I don't know. I don't care about showing off the games I own. I like talking about the games. Like, is the game
like I
good?
see it like that. Like a lot of times, I'm not necessarily showing it off, but I want to post it on like Twitter to start a conversation.
Yeah.
Like I don't go around saying, "Hey guys, my collection's worth more than yours," or "My games are worth this much." It's more cool to pick up like a cool JRPG or like a rare title and be like, "Hey guys, look at this. Let's talk about it."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it's like, I don't know. I do. I understand like all aspects of this conversation because there are games that I buy. I don't know. I'm a weird collector. I have like OCD with certain things. Like sometimes I'll buy games just because I own the other games in the series. That's like a huge problem I have. I'll be like, I know for a fact there's 4 games in this series, and part 3 is a pile of dog shit. But I'm gonna have to pick up 3 because I own 1, 2, and 4. I haven't like I just like that sort of OCD obsessive completionist thing. That's like another like toxic buying habit that I have. Like I know I'm going into it knowing this game sucks and it's still going in the collection, baby.
Yeah, Joe, I can definitely relate to that. And just last night alone, I went through my Nintendo collection and my spreadsheet, and I added every single Nintendo exclusive game that I didn't own and put it on a spreadsheet. And like, there was a few of them I crossed out because I'm like, nah, I don't want these. But like everything that had Mario or Luigi or Yoshi or Wario in the title is on the list. Even the bad ones.
And this is where this is another thing I want to point out that I use emulation for. It's like if I'm ever on the fence of something, like I will play the game to decide whether or not I think it's worth the value. Like that's like a huge thing to me. Like say there's a game, you know, I'm not talking about games that are like $100. The ones I'm on the fence about buying. Like I want it. That's kind of expensive. Do I really want to spend that much money? I'll play it through emulation. And if I have a really good time, I will buy it. I will be like, hell yeah, that game was worth it. I really enjoyed it. The soundtrack was great. Story was great. Had a great time. This is something I think deserves to be in my collection. So I like emulation for that sort of thing too, because there's nothing worse than watching, you know, videos of a game and seeing screenshots of a game, spending a lot of money on a game, and then getting it and realizing you're like, I don't like this at all. These controls are terrible. I couldn't experience the controls watching it, or you know, I you know what I mean. But I can't. I'm not used to this at all. It's just like awkward, you know. So
that's a great point though, because like, you know, if you're looking at like Black Myth Wukong or Stellar Blade, you can go get a demo for that. You can try that before you buy it. But anything that's not the current gen. So we're talking retro and even not retro, just a gen or 2 behind. You can't do that. So I mean, that's a valid point. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I like my emulations. Like so, what I'll do is I'll like say so like I've been into Atari lately. Don't ask me why. I've just been loving Atari. 2600, 5200, 7200. All that's just been going nuts. And I've been thinking about actually collecting carts again for the Atari. As weird as that sounds, because they're cheap. That's one of the main reasons. It's fun. It's cheap. They're small. They're, you know, I'm not going to go for boxes or manuals or whatever. Little cart collection. And like emulation, I watch videos of like every game that ever came out. I watch those like video game library videos that are like 4 hours long, and I, you know, write down all the games, and then I'll download every game that I think looks interesting. And then what happens is I'll end up with like 250 games or whatever. And then I'll go through and I'll try them all out. And then like there will be games that within 5 seconds I'm like, nope, hate it. Not or something like even just the audio. Like some, especially with old Atari games, some of them the audio is like literal torture. It's like, all right, here we go, boing 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 ding 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 boing 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 ding ding. It's like, oh my god, I'm playing this and I'm annoyed. Let alone whoever the hell else is in this room. They're gonna be freaking lose their mind. So then I whittle that list down, and I whittle the list down, and now I have like maybe like 180 2600 games that I think are fun. And now that emulation list that I've curated from doing the videos and building my little emulation library, that's my physical library list. That's my list of what I actually want to buy now. And when I'm out buying games, I'll know, like, I played this, I played that. I know, like, I'll know what I'm getting into ahead of time. So that's what I like emulation for, is research, testing, stuff like that. And it doesn't prevent me from purchasing things I want. Space prevents me from purchasing things I want.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not really a matter of I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think emulation has it's people are like really against it in the physical community, when I get it, because it's like a threat, they think, but it's not. It can be a useful tool. Also, I just want to point out, there are a lot of people who talk a big game about physical media and how they love physical media and all that stuff, but they haven't bought a new video game in 10 years, man. Mr. Cold Knights, they're only buying retro. So if you're only buying retro and you're not buying PS5 games, and then you're just part of the problem.
Okay, so
you're
I will
helping
say,
to kill the stuff too. You have to buy modern games.
I will say that I do buy modern games on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the last two, and it's been a while before them. The last two new games I bought for the PS5 were probably the Silent Hill 2 remake and probably Final Fantasy 16 before that.
Mm-hmm.
Not really a huge current gen Sony person. When I was the biggest PlayStation fanboy before, I think that they've really, really, really dropped the ball.
I agree with you.
And I'm shocked, knowing their business practices from before, that they haven't been able to just put Microsoft out of the game. And as well as the Switch has done, Sony still should have had the leverage. And I can't believe that it's become what it has. There's still certain games I couldn't pass up, like Silent Hill 2. That was going to be a game that both me and my wife were going to want to play. And it was the same thing for 16. But, like, I saw the previews and I saw, gameplay from like Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade. Like, they look okay, but I'm not going to go out and buy them. Did you guys buy those two games?
See, I'm a Dark Souls fan. I've played every Dark Souls game, every spin-off title.
Yeah, me too.
As soon as Black Myth Wukong came out, I'm like, I want to play this, but I'm not buying it digitally. There's a PS5 version coming out tomorrow, and I've pre-ordered it, and I'm picking it up, and I'm really excited. But I'll play it. Like, it won't be a game for the collection. I'll be playing this game right away. I'm really excited for it.
I think the last Soulsborne I bought was Lies of P. So that's
Lies of P was brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant game. I actually didn't buy it right away, though. I did the whole Game Pass thing because Lies of P was on Game Pass. So the way I seen it was, I can buy it full price for $100, or I can try it for $1 with my Game Pass thing. Every time I turn my PC on, Windows is like, try Game Pass today for $1. I'm like, all right.
But now with Nintendo, every Tuesday and Friday, I'm looking to see what came out for physicals. Like, I love the Switch because of the hybrid nature of the console. Switch is a beautiful thing for someone that does a lot of streaming. And I know a lot of the multi-platform games don't perform quite as well, but the difference is not as big as people make it out to be usually in most games.
It's still
something like Ark is like terrifying to play on the Switch, but like most of the time I find the Switch very versatile because I can stream from it very easily. But I also I have a hard time playing on the TV. Like, I'm legally blind. Without my glasses, I'm literally unable to see it all, basically. And so, like, just sitting in a normal living room setup at the couch, I can't play a game that needs any kind of precise input on the television. So that's why, like, I actually got into huge arguments with people on Twitter about the Portal, there was people that were saying the Portal was e-waste and it was a terrible thing.
I love my Portal.
I loved it because I could finally play my PS4 and PS5 games without sitting at my desk, because I have to sit at the desk to play at the monitor. I can't play on the TV. And the desk is great. And I got like a big fat boy gaming chair that costs like $500, and I have a nice setup, but I would rather sit on my nice couch.
Mhm.
And the Switch always allowed me to do that. So I don't know. And there's just something about the nice little cases and the tininess of the games and how they taste when you lick them. Not that.
The only thing I don't like about the Switch is most games don't come with manuals, but that's like that for most games these days, you know. Unless you're buying from a place like Premium Edition Games, you just get in a case, a disc, and that's it.
The funny thing is, as much as I love physicals, and now I'm actually working for Premium, I have never bought a game from Premium Edition Games. I was telling him before the show, I just started buying games online. I was one of those old dinosaurs that was like strictly physical to the point where like I have to touch it before I buy it. Like
You're not going to come across too many of them in the wild.
And I remember having good friends in my community, other creators, people like Just the Gems and like Orbalology, friends that I would talk to, and they're all buying all these games online. And they're like, "You're an old dinosaur. Why are you afraid to buy things online?" I'm like, "They'll steal my credit card information." And I was terrified to do it. And it was VGP and people like Phil with his affiliate links and stuff that got me into buying it. And I finally started buying from VGP. And I've actually picked up things that I really wanted. So now I'm like not as afraid. Like I always used eBay because I used to sell on eBay. Like I felt secure there. But I never bought from Amazon. I never bought from like, you know, any of the limited publishers. So I love Premium Edition. I love their mission. I've never owned the games, but there is actually ones in the new Series 10 that I do want to pick up, and I probably will. But yeah, I used to never, ever buy games online. That was like a kind of a new thing for me still.
No, I don't think it's bad to have those, you know, agendas and things like that. Because if you look at some companies like First Press Games or is it Hard Copy Games, like people have bought games 5 years ago and still haven't received their product. Like that's wrong, you know.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to be buying something, like if you walked into a shop, you buy something, you get it that day.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these companies will have stock on hand, but some of the pre-orders out there are open pre-order. Like you could be buying stuff before it's even been manufactured, and you might get it for 6, 12, maybe even longer than 12 months, which, you know, it's just ridiculous, but it's become a norm in this industry that people just get away with it these days.
And it's their business model, literally. Like, not so much someone like Premium. That's on a much smaller scale, but like limited run games, that's literally what they're doing. You're putting in all these pre-orders for games you're not going to get for a year or a year and a half, and they're using all the capital they get from our pre-orders to buy more games from developers and put out more games. And it's such a... They're not transparent about it. Like, those of us who sit down and think about it are like, yes, that's what they're doing. But like they're not like, this is what we do. And a lot of people don't realize that's what's happening. And some of them are really bad. Like, was it Strictly Limited? Was that the one where like there's games that
they've done better
like
lately. They've fixed things up, but they went for a period where they went from one of the better ones to, hey guys, we got to stop buying from this company because they've taken my money, and 3 years later I still haven't gotten my products.
They have like $900 of orders in mine they haven't shipped out.
Ooh.
That's absurd.
And I don't buy any collector's editions either. That puts things in perspective. I have like 13 orders with them or something like that.
That makes me glad I don't do that.
And it's been driving me crazy too. Like I've said, as I almost always bought the PS4 copy and the Switch copy, like for each of the games because I wanted them. And like they keep shipping just the PS4 copy out because that one's ready. Or just the Switch version is getting shipped out because that's ready. And I'm over here waiting, and no matter what, I'm not getting games because I ordered both, and one of them's not ready. It's like, oh my God. I have faith in them, though. I do think they're going to put it back together. I think what they did is they signed too many games. And some of the games they signed were not desirable games. That's the nicest way I can put it. They put out some stinkers, like, and they're not bad games. Like, I'm not saying like the games are bad. They're just not desirable in the collecting world. Like these are like, not every indie game is going to sell like hotcakes. I'm sorry. Some of
Not
these
every
artsy
indie game
fartsy
deserves
games-
a physical title either. That's
yeah, some of these artsy fartsy games, I'm sorry, they're just not my cup of tea, and they're never gonna be. So they'll bring it around. But you know, premium edition, they're not like that. They're responsible. They always make their products and deliver, and they make good
And
stuff.
the great thing about premium is, since I've been there and had access, you know, to their like staff chat and their staff Discord, that's a constant concern. Like, you know, that we're replying to the customers when they have questions. A lot of these other places, like, you can't talk to the damn CEO in the Discord of LRG. Josh is right there in the premium Discord answering questions. So they're fully transparent. If there's a delay, they're going to let you know how long it is and why it's happening. And that's something that I didn't know before, because I wasn't involved with their Discord, that I've really come to appreciate, that I don't see from the other ones that I've heard from other people. So that to me is a big deal, because, like, yes, there is going to be delays, and yes, you're going to have to wait some time for your pre-orders, but you'll always have answers, and you can literally talk to managers in the company, as opposed to like some poor Discord mod that works for LRG that has no idea of any of the answers, is just making excuses for the company for you. You know what I mean? So
we could be
to me,
like
that's a
First
big
Press
deal.
Games and just block everyone on Twitter.
right.
Turn replies off. That's how they deal with it. But another thing, like, you know, premium edition are owned by collectors as well. So it's people, when you're dealing with the people that you want, you know that you're gonna get that. It makes sense. You know, they're not gonna. Like Limited Run just released the Klonoa game, and it's broken. And they told people it was gonna work, but no, guess what version they put out? The broken version. Like, you need a port, you need an update to actually play this game. Like, these aren't, you know, I don't want a game on my shelf that doesn't work, needs an update. Because I mightn't play this game for 10, 20 years. The service is still going to be around then. Like, I'm buying stuff that works. That's all.
PS1 copy works.
Yeah, my PS1 copy always works.
Just keep that in mind. No updates required. No
I went to
download.
I finished up last night watching Twitch, and I'm like, I'm gonna go play my Switch for half an hour before I go to bed. So I grabbed the Switch. I didn't have much charge, like 10%. I'm like, yeah, I'm only gonna play for 20 minutes. Went to play my game, needs an update. But before the update goes, I need to do a Nintendo update. Can't update it without being on charge. So I didn't play anything. That's modern gaming for you. But I love the
So you
Switch.
just
but
put it back down,
that's-
and you were like, you know what?
yeah, I just watched videos. I'm like, fuck this. I'll play it tomorrow night.
Ain't that the truth, though?
Yeah. One thing I despise with modern gaming is you almost have to like plan the game before you play it. Like, all right, I'm going to play tonight. Does it need an update this morning? Let's just double check.
That's the truth. If I'm like if I get a new game and I want to play it that night, I'll like, and on my lunch break at work, go and install that motherfucker because it could take 3 hours to install and then download patches. And then like, it could be a huge pain in the ass. You never know. So like, it is so frustrating. Like, you know, if you're like a normal gamer and you just want to sit down and play a match of Call of Duty, and you just bought the new Call of Duty, you put it in there and it's like 200 gigs downloading. You're like, what the heck? Like,
Not everyone's got fast internet either. That might be like an entire night of downloading.
yeah, that's another thing too. People like, you know, I constant like, I'll point out on a release if the game's not on the disc, it requires a download or something. That people will be like, "Wait, it's 2024, you don't have internet?" I'm like, I do. I have great internet. I can download that no problem. I'm just pointing it out because other people don't. You fucking idiot. I know you think everyone on the planet has beautiful, perfect, functioning internet, but it's not true. Some people live out in the boonies, dude. And even if they have internet, it's terrible and it's slow. And or you know, like it would make it so like their Netflix doesn't work and their parents will be mad at them because they're sucking up the internet for the whole day or something. You don't, you know, it's not. People just don't understand how things are. And in general, like, I just don't like the idea, and I'm sure everybody's familiar with this. I just don't like the idea of down the line putting my game in and it not working because I can't install it or update it or patch it or something. I just don't like that, which is another reason I'm all over the place, but that's why modern Sony sucks, kind of, and that's why modern collecting. When I bitch about people not buying modern games, I don't really blame you, because a lot of them are pointless to buy. They literally are pointless. Like, I will not buy a game that is incomplete, that does not work. Like,
while you're on this topic, I think it's a good time to bring this up. So it just got announced a couple of days ago that Suicide Squad is an online game. It's being taken down soon. However, they're adding an offline mode to the game after it gets taken down, which I think that's brilliant. Like, if you're going to take a game down that doesn't have an offline mode, add one so people can still play it. Like, it turns this from a coaster to still a game that people can buy and enjoy and play. Like, Phil just brought up Concord. Like, Concord is a coaster now. You put it in, it doesn't work. You may as well put a Wii game in your PlayStation. There's no difference to them. They're not going to work.
It was ridiculous how people were scalping that like right away. Like, I don't know if it's still selling for crazy, but because it's so hard to have that physical in your hand, even though it's a coaster, like it was selling online for like double and triple the price. I don't know if that's still the case, but like
now the price has gone down,
ridiculous.
and now it's cheaper than what it was when they purchased it. So I think scalpers have lost money on Concord, which is funny.
Good.
I saw third-party sellers selling it on Walmart for $52. And it was like, Walmart, buy Concord now, but it was through third-party sellers for $50 something. So
I still won't pick it up unless it's like $10 on clearance, because it doesn't work. What's the point?
I'm not picking it up. Did you see that they deleted the Concord episode from that TV show, that video game show? I can't remember the name of it right now. There's like some anthology show about video games, and like one of the episodes was about Concord. And like they just deleted it. Like, they just took it off. They're like, this is just awkward. Honestly, I feel bad for those guys, because you imagine how they feel right now watching Marvel Rivals just blow up the way it has. Because Marvel Rivals is crushing it right now. And I looked at Marvel Rivals and I'm like, yeah, this is just another crappy Overwatch clone. Yeah, and that's exactly how I felt about Concord. I'm not interested in Rivals either, to be honest with you, but Rivals is doing very well and Concord's dead in the water.
The crazy thing is, Joe, they could have just released Concord as a free game and filled it with microtransactions, and it would have done the same thing. But you can't compete when the big product is free. You can't release a $60 product. You can do that to Call of Duty, a direct competitor, because that's $60, you know, but soon as Overwatch became a free game, they should have changed their business model, but they didn't. You know, they released it like it was 2016 still, because that's when they started working on it.
I think if they released it as a free-to-play game and they completely fired their marketing team and hired a good marketing team who knew how to market a video game and sell a video game, then they might have done all right. But honestly, like, the announcement at the PlayStation Direct for that game was terrible. It was terrible, because you watched it and you were like, it's just this nonsense scene of these idiots eating in a cafe, chatting like some stupid Quentin Tarantino movie or something. And it was just, nobody cared. It didn't matter. Nobody was likable. Nobody was funny. Nothing was happening. I wasn't learning anything about the game. It was just this stupid, pointless scene. And then after all that was done, they showed a couple of shots of it. And I go, oh, it's a hero shooter. Okay. Why did they just waste 5 minutes of my life with this terrible? It was just so badly marketed. If they had just said, here's a new hero shooter, and it was just fighting and explosions, and just they showed you the gameplay, and that's all it was, they would have people would be like, oh, game looks kind of fun. But I'm telling you, by putting in that huge, long, boring scene, everyone went, this is boring. Like, you're boring me. Like, you're supposed to be selling me on this, and I am bored. This is not how you sell a video game. I'm sorry. It's just their marketing team was terrible at their job. Absolutely inept. Just, they don't know what they're doing. I don't know what it was anti-marketing. Like, it was such bad marketing. It turned off the entire video game purchasing community base. But like, nobody wanted it.
I feel like that's a very Sony problem, because they did the same damn thing with that like direct announcement they did for the PS5 Pro. The dude is literally sitting there. He's
Yeah,
like,
oh my
this is it on the PS4, the regular PS5. This is it with the PS5 Pro, and it's literally the same picture to me. And I'm like, what are you trying to show me? Why I need to give you $900? Like, I'm not doing it. And especially someone like us that we're all physical collectors, like, so I got to pay $700 for this, and then I got to buy an $80 hard drive, and you can't even give me the goddamn stand. Like, what are you doing? And the pictures look the same. Like,
I
show me
know
that they're different.
I still can't notice a difference, right?
Yeah.
I seen a comparison yesterday, and it was Call of Duty, and it was on PS4 compared to the PS5, and there was a difference. I could see the difference. I'm like, oh yeah, look, that looks like an old game. That looks like a new one, but I still struggle to tell the difference on the PS4 to the Pro. Like if I jump on my 4K TV, maybe there'll be a little bit, but like if I'm on my phone or my PC, I cannot tell the difference. It's exactly
like when they have to be like Spider-Man's reflection in the glass on the skyscrapers is a little clearer, and that's why you should give us $900. I'm like, what?
When you're peeing in a puddle, you can see a reflection of your penis. Isn't that amazing?
It's
Wow.
crazy. Like
I
when I watch
also-
that, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
I also agree with you that what's the guy's name who did the tech demo presentation for the Pro? I don't know, a guy who looks like Dana Carvey. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, what is this? Like, why would you let this guy do this? No offense to that guy, but like, he's not marketable. Like, do you guys? I feel like there's something happened where people back in the day used to do marketing research, and they would hire firms and they would test things with their audience to make sure people like crap. And I feel like that has just gone out the window. I don't think they do that anymore. I just don't. I don't think they have test audiences. I don't think they ask people what they think. They just release stuff and they go, isn't this great? And everyone goes, no. And it's like, I'm like, what happened to the last like 80 years of marketing research that we've been doing since the 50s? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right, like Samuel L. Jackson should have been given that presentation.
exactly. And you joke, but that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, why would they not hire someone charismatic, good looking, well-spoken, popular, and entertaining to do the presentation? Why wouldn't you hire someone who's like a good speaker, who's fun or whatever? Like, get Samuel L. Get The Rock. I don't care.
They could have put Tom Brady there or anyone. Like, it's not hard. Just hire someone who's popular.
Exactly. And they just and it's like these companies all think they can do everything themselves and they don't need any help. And I'm like, you're wrong. You're wrong. You don't know what you're doing. You're like, you're doing a bad job. So yeah.
Well, they certainly know now because they've probably never lost more money on one individual project ever than Concord, and they're certainly like, and the PS5 Pro, you know, they're not doing well on that. They're doing well because they made the 30th anniversary and those sold out. But if you go into any store right now, you can find a PS5 Pro. You guys remember how long it took to find the original PS5? It was a year and a half before you could even see it in stores.
Had mine day one.
Look, we did as well as collectors, but for the average person, it was a long time to find a PS5.
It took me like a year and a half.
It was hard to get though. Like I remember I had waited too long and I thought I had actually effed up and I was going to be one of the few people of my friends that wouldn't get it. And luckily I had a pal that had pre-ordered two and he got one for a family member and they backed out. And he's like, if you want it, I'll give it to you what I paid for it. And I'm like, hell yes. And the dude went home on his lunch break from work, got it for me, and brought it back. And I left work that day on release day with it. But he saved my ass.
Awesome.
And I just hate that I spent all that money on it. And to be honest, Joe, I don't like it. I don't like the user interface.
No, I don't either. I hate the UI.
I don't
It's
like
a freaking it's an
that
advertisement center.
it wants to at least partially install every game. Even if there's not some huge download, you put in the disc and it wants to install at least part of it.
Mhm.
And you're sitting there waiting for it. And your internet speed doesn't matter. Then, yeah, I have the fastest internet you can get. The PlayStation 5 only installs shit so fast.
Mhm.
You know, when I put in a Switch game, sometimes they'll need an update, but most of the time they're ready to play.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
Not
so,
to
like,
mention, you can only have so many games on your PS5.
it's a real problem. Like I literally, when I put in Silent Hill into the PS5 for my wife to play it, she had to wait because I had to go through and like hand pick what games I was going to delete off of it. I'm like, no, don't go in there and just delete random shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, please, like you're going to delete like one of my Dynasty Warriors games or something. I can't have that happen. But like,
that's like
ridiculous.
Everything I've got on there, I still want to play. So when I put a new game, I have to delete something that I want to play that I'm going to have to reinstall later. Thankfully, it doesn't delete your save files, but that just give it a few years. If you don't have the Plus subscription, you'll lose all those as well. You know.
Well, but like for instance, like when I was playing Rebirth, Final Fantasy Rebirth, it was like 120 something gigs or whatever, and like. I was pretty much obligated to finish that game before I moved on to something else because it was like you said. I'm like, if I want to install other games, I have to delete this motherfucker. And if I delete this, I ain't coming back for a long time because I am not installing another 120 gig file again and waiting for you know what I mean? So it can be like an actual determining factor of like whether or what I'm going to play because of the hard drive size. I'm like, nope, I'm committed. I've started this game. It's taken up half of my hard drive. I gotta finish it. You know, it is what it is.
I see someone.
That's something that surprised me with the Pro that they didn't like release a Pro with an 8 terabyte hard drive. Like half the people buying consoles are buying extra terabyte drives and SSDs. Like, why don't they just put that in the Pro version?
You shouldn't have to do that. It's the same thing as the disk drive and the stand. Bottom line is, on my Switch, storage is still a problem, but it's not as big as a problem. Like I very rarely have to delete stuff off the Switch, but I shouldn't have to go buy a $150 or $200 hard drive to add to my already expensive console. And I had a bad experience with the Seagate one for the PS4 that corrupted and like fried for no reason. Like I didn't improperly store it. It was ventilated, everything, and just went away. Yeah, and it really screws with your library because it thinks things are supposed to be there and they're not. And it was a real pain to get everything straightened out. Like, so I don't think that you should depend on external hard drives in a modern console. I think that's shameful. And that pushes me more and more, as much as I love physical games, to the PC. Yeah. And I think that's where we're going to end up going.
Same here.
Because, PCs are ridiculously expensive. Me and my wife just each bought like $2,000 computers, and they're beautiful and they're expensive as hell. This thing has basically infinite memory, and Steam is an infinitely more convenient service than Nintendo or Sony offers. Like, it's ridiculous.
Steam's supposedly coming out with a home console. I don't know if you've seen this. Supposedly,
I remember they were talking about that a couple of years ago, and they had done a couple like small portable computers before the Steam Deck. I forgot what they were called. They were called like Steam something. They were like little Steam machines. That's what they were called. And they were like tiny PCs that were like consoles, and it like flopped. So they're planning another one?
Yes. Supposedly they're coming out with a new home console that completely syncs with your Steam library and also works with emulators the same way the Steam Deck does. And I'm buying that day one if that works, if that's the thing, because I already have a Steam Deck that does that exact thing pretty much. But if you game on the thing extensively, you own a portable nuclear reactor. The thing's so hot.
It's so hard for these other companies like Sony and Nintendo to compete with Steam, though. I feel like Steam is 20 years ahead. Steam has sales that, like as a physical collector, Steam has sales that are almost too good to say no to. It'll be like a game that I wanted that's $50 and they have it for $1. And it's like, well, I can't say no to that because I actually want to play it, and I can't justify paying 50 times more for the same game,
I do think that if we ever really truly lose physical media, that will stop, though, because you're going to see monopolies, and they're not going to have to offer those sales anymore. So I think that will be a thing of the past. Like Steam is great now. Steam will not offer those sales in 5 years when there's no discs or carts being made.
It's interesting you say that, because they're still going to be competing against Xbox and Microsoft and Nintendo. So it may be a case of, Steam will lose profits just to take customers from other systems, which is what they do now, because they don't release physical items. If you go into a GameStop, the only physical Steam items are cases of download codes in them, or maybe a collector's edition. You know, you're not going to buy a disc for a PC anymore. It's just not really a thing. My computer doesn't even have a disc drive. Like,
Right.
and that's what most computers are like these days.
Yeah, so I said that once Sony, Microsoft, once these companies do finally come out with an all digital console and then no more physical media, like I think they're screwed. I don't think they understand what will happen to them, because I'm a pretty loyal Sony guy and I'm going to play Steam and I'm going to play on PC, and I'm not going to be a part of the Sony marketplace. I will not be buying a digital PlayStation. I will not be downloading games from them. I'm just going to play on my PC. Why? Because I've already invested money in my Steam library already. I already have a massive digital library in that ecosystem. And also, Steam has, like, above and beyond shown they are more concerned with customers' rights and customers' satisfaction and customers' like priorities than any of these other companies are. All these other companies think are sitting around thinking of ways to screw you out of your money every day, and Steam is over here fighting back. They're the only ones saying no. Like, did you see like the huge announcement they had about DLC and expansion packs? That's amazing. They were like, you can no longer sell an expansion pack unless you have said what's in it and when it's going to release, and it has to release within a 3-month window of when you say it's going to release. Otherwise, we're refunding everyone the money. No more like buy a season pass and then we'll tell you what's in it a year from now, or buy this expansion and then we just never release it, or we only add like 2 things to it instead of the 5 things we promised. Like, none of that stuff. It's like all like, you know.
Yeah, I love how Steam do some things. Yeah. Another example I want to use is I play this game called Total War Warhammer, and I played the first one, the second one, and the third one, and I've been playing for almost a decade, right? And the way the DLC works in that game is if you buy it for the first one, guess what? You get to use it on 2 or 3, or if you just buy the DLC for 2, you get to use it on 1 and 3. Like, imagine a PlayStation game where you buy the DLC for number 2 and you get number 3 and you're already using it. Like, they won't do that, but that's just a thing in this game that makes sense, you know. And it's how it should be. It's like you've already paid for that item; it should just be yours.
Yeah. I don't really like. That's what you were saying, Joe. I don't know what they think they're gonna pull off, like, because basically an all digital console is a shitty little computer.
Exactly. I'd rather
like,
play
most
my
of
nice
us
PC.
have great systems, and if the very next like, why would I buy it? It won't be as good as the PC that I have. And honestly, the kind of gamer I am, I don't care about your Spider-Man exclusive title. I don't. The Sony exclusive or Microsoft exclusive titles you guys have, or Nintendo, maybe Nintendo, but Sony and Microsoft, their first party exclusives are weak. Nintendo, maybe you buy a console to play Mario and Zelda, but I also think Nintendo will be the first one to really try to work together with the other companies in a real meaningful way when the shit hits the fan. I really think that will happen. I actually think
Xbox will be fine because of how much they're already incorporating mobile phones and PC. If you got a phone, you can play Xbox games, right? And it's cheap too. Yeah, but you can. Like I'm using the example of someone who can't afford a gaming system, but all they have is a phone, and they just want to get into it. They're going to be playing Xbox, and you can go online and find codes to get Game Pass for $1. Like I've had Game Pass probably 10 months in the last 4 or 5 years, and I've never paid more than $1 because I always find these cheap. Here, get back in the Game Pass, blah, blah, blah. You can play Xbox games so cheap these days, and they're making it accessible to everybody. They're putting it on every platform they can. And, you know, if you get a PC, you can also play Steam. So it's like if I was, use that example again, like 16, 17, and I wanted to get into gaming, I'm going to buy a PC because I get all the games on Steam. I can also play all the Xbox games. I can emulate PlayStation and Nintendo games if I want. You know, that accessibility is there. If you buy a PlayStation, you're stuck with the games that are on it. If you buy a Nintendo, you're stuck with just those games.
Yeah, and you can also edit videos. You can do a podcast. You can, you know, your PC.
So many more things. You can do your schoolwork. You know, you can your homework, your uni work, whatever it is.
Yeah, PC is definitely the way to go. I think they're going to dominate the future. The way So Nintendo, I believe, they're going to continue physical media longer than the other two. So I'm a ride or die with Nintendo. This will be the Nintendo Collectors Podcast next week. It will be at some point because I'll have no freaking choice.
The day
there will be no more PlayStation games.
Sony don't have a disc in their console, which we're already at. You have to go and buy the disc drive separately.
So the only way I'm buying a PS6 is if it's backwards compatible and it has the option for a disc drive. I've already lost hope they'll come out with a model with one included, but maybe they'll throw us a freaking bone here, people, and they'll give us you'll be able to order one online for an extra $100 like they're doing now. So if they do that and the PS6 is backwards compatible with my PlayStation 5 and my PlayStation 4 games, I'll buy one. If the PS6 comes out and it's an all digital console, I'm not getting it. I'm just not getting it. I don't care. I won't do it. But I will be getting a Switch 2 real soon. Hell yeah! You guys excited about that? By the way, you saw the accessories getting announced online and everything. It's happening.
I'll get excited once it's been announced because we've been talking about it for a year at this point.
I'm excited. I'm starting to actually feel a little bit of the hype. I'm starting to feel.
I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true, but I read somewhere the reason we haven't had the Nintendo Switch 2 announced is because they don't know when Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to get announced, and they don't want to release it around the same time. Don't know if that's true or not, but
that could be.
Well, what if GTA 6 isn't available on the Switch?
Maybe it won't be. That's why they want to time it differently.
Yeah, and they don't want people to be pointing that out. They don't want that to be a topic of discussion with their new console. They're like, "Oh, you get the new Switch? It doesn't play the new GTA, so no, I didn't get it." You know what I mean? Like but I think GTA is coming out like next November or something like that, and I think that we'll see the Switch 2 in like March. So that's my.
We may see a trailer to GTA 6 this week. So if you look at like the time from the trailer from Grand Theft Auto 5, it was like 350 days or something. And that's how many days it's been since we had the first trailer. So if they go on those, we may get the trailer in the next couple of days.
Are you guys super excited about that?
Yeah. Super excited for it. Like everyone, everyone's a fan of Grand Theft Auto.
I'm not. I don't know. Like I am and I'm not. Like I would like to be. But like I know it's going to be a tempered, watered down version of what we are used to as GTA. It is impossible to release a GTA game in 2024. It's not possible. To make it like it's supposed to be, what it should be, can't have that. And there's already been controversy of leaks and all that stuff that you saw, where they said that they told them to be less crude to minorities and trans people. That was the messaging. You got to be less crude. And on theory, that sounds great. You should be less crude, unless you're talking about a GTA game, and then it shouldn't be less crude. It should be crude. I'm sorry. I know it's supposed to be ridiculous and offensive and rude and crude. It's about whores and drugs and murder and stealing and blowing cops up with machine guns and bazookas. It's not supposed to be polite. It's not.
Let's hope that they go down the road of pissing everyone off and using that as a marketing technique like they've done in the past. I don't have as much faith as I used to because they're run by shareholders these days. But
the whole game was the whole marketing push for that game was the controversy. Like you said, it was thriving off of the controversy. So
if that game comes out and the news articles the next day, this game needs to be banned, then that game's going to do well. That's
what it needs. And I know that people aren't used to that, but that's just how it was. Like, oh man, dude, the 2000s were so different. When I was talking, when we had Gaming Off the Grid here, I was watching this show. It's called Tripping the Rift. And it's like this old cartoon that was on like Sci-Fi or Cartoon Network or whatever. And like this show is so offensive. I couldn't believe the jokes. I was like, wow, this show is actually trying to offend you. And you just, it honestly was refreshing. It was like, I forgot what it was like to give zero fucks, like the freedom That the joy they must have felt being able to tell whatever jokes they want and to be as mean as they want and stupid as they want. I'm like, oh man, it's just, I don't know. I miss it. Like, we're so coddled nowadays where everyone's so scared of offending people. And it's just like, dude, why? Like, who cares if people are offended? Who cares if people bitch on the internet? You want to know what happened? You want to know how I deal with people bitching on the internet? Ready? Take this thing. And I put it over here. Done. Go ahead. Bitch till you're blue in the face, shit your pants, cry in the corner. Have fun. Not in my world. You ain't in my head. Goodbye. Like, it doesn't matter. Man, like I said, people don't understand marketing. I don't understand who's running businesses these days. I feel like nobody knows how to make money anymore. They're just all crazy people. But
you guys want to get into some game pickups for the week?
Sure. Yeah, we do have Ananta, which is like an anime titty version of GTA.
Gotta go first, Jen?
Yeah, sure. I only have like 3 things, so it'll be super quick. So the first thing I got, I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's the best release in ages. Solid release. Nothing wrong with it at all. I got the Tomba special edition. The one that you guys he was just bitching about. It's like, a stupid piece of crap's broken. It doesn't work. Blah, blah, blah. So this does work. It supposedly has some glitches in it or some bugs or something like that, where you could potentially like freeze your game or break it or whatever. But that doesn't mean like it doesn't work. It doesn't mean like you put this in your PlayStation and it won't work without the update. That's not the case. The fixes and stuff, the patches, it is a download. And yes, I do wish it was all on the disc, but just so you know, it's not like completely broken or whatever. And also, I'm a big fan of Modern Vintage Gamer, that guy on YouTube, if you know him. I like him very much. I think he's very cool. And his game engine was used to do this. And hopefully, you know, they can learn from this, do stuff better in the future, make their releases in the future more solid. So
I was initially disappointed that I missed out, and now I'm glad that I didn't buy it.
I wish I just bought the PS1 one, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now I'm like, well, let's relook at the PS1 version, because I want to buy a game that I can play without needing to rely on my console.
So I was thinking about getting the PS1 and PS2 because the sequel is not out either. Tomba 2 is not on this. I was gonna pick those up, but they're pretty expensive, like $150. But they were, you know, I played them. They're great games. Like, I would absolutely have added them to my collection. And I thought this would be great, nice and cheap, $40. I can play it high def, you know, HDMI. I won't have to buy the PS1 copy, but now here we are. And yeah, I'll probably still have to buy the PS1 copy.
It's disappointing because we got like the Klonoa games done on the Switch and the PS4, and they were great. I played them, had a blast. Absolutely. Like, I never bought them originally, always wanted to play them, and I got to experience them for a normal price, you know. Thought, sweet, get to do the same for Tomba. No. Well, I mean, you do updates and blah, 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 but that's not the idea behind something like that.
So next thing I got was Sam and Max Beyond Space and Time. And this thing's pretty hefty. There's got to be some stuff in here. Let me tell you. I can tell there's like a manual in here or something, maybe a keychain or some shit. I probably will open this because I really do want to play it. This is like a point and click adventure type game.
Oh, nice.
If you're unfamiliar with these. Really good. I think there's 2 or 3 of them they've released so far. And I have the other one, so I wanted to pick this one up too.
Yeah, I like point and click games, but I only want to play them on my computer with a mouse. I hate using the joysticks to play a point and click game.
I don't blame you.
Especially the ones where you go like, you know, click on the screen to find the thing, and you got to click absolutely everywhere. Like, playing that on a console is a nightmare. Like, I played Monkey Island on PS3. No.
Fair. I mean, well, that's a whole other can of worms. It's like, how come in the year 2024 I can't hook up a fucking keyboard to my PlayStation? Like, why can't I just plug in a keyboard and use a keyboard? You stupid, like, you fools. Like, I find that preposterous at this point.
You can, but They're
I
trying
know.
to ban it because people use it in competitive shooters to cheat and things like that.
It's
So
not cheating. It's just playing with the keyboard. For God's sakes, I get what. I think it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It should just be a default option. And then if Sony wanted to, they could do what they always do. They could come out with a Sony PlayStation keyboard, and they could charge $150, and then they could have come out with the 30th anniversary keyboard, and it could have it would have been
And a
great.
mouse and a blah, blah, blah.
$250.
And then it really is a computer because there's no difference between that and the actual computer that we use. You know, these ones just can only do a certain amount of things.
I'm with you though, Figsy. There are certain games where I just like I want a keyboard and mouse. Like I hate playing FPS games with the controller. I
Like
can't
Civilization or something. I do not want to play Civilization on my PlayStation. I want to use a mouse and play it on my PC.
Even like Stardew Valley, man, you can play with the controller no problem, but it's just far superior in my opinion with the mouse and keyboard being able. Or like Core Keeper. I played Core Keeper.
I wouldn't. Yeah, no way.
I played it on my Steam Deck for a while, and it was doable, but like the combat and switching my items out and stuff, like it wasn't smooth. So I went over to the PC and I can like 55 hotkeys and have everything set. It was just so much better, dude. All right, and the last thing I picked up is not a game, but it's still awesome. I got the Batman 4 film collection,
Nice.
4K, 1989 to 97. So it's got all the classics. It's got the Michael Keaton Batmans, Val Kilmer, and then the old George Clooney special.
My second favorite era of Batman movies behind the 2000 ones.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most people, I think the Christian Bale ones are the best Batman movies, obviously. The Christopher Nolan ones or whatever. I think they're the best. And then the Michael Keaton ones, 1 and 2, are amazing. 3 with Val Kilmer and Jim Carrey, it's not bad. It's all right. And then 4 with George Clooney, it's just a disaster, man. God, is it bad? Have you seen it? Obviously, I'm assuming you guys have seen all these.
Yeah, I've seen them all. The Freeze, Poison Ivy.
Arnold is so bad as Mr. Freeze. What a bad. Why would you? Oh, what a bad acting. What a bad casting job. It's like, what are we looking for? We're looking for this guy who's like super emotional. He lost his wife. He's a super genius scientist, and his wife is, who should we get? We should get Arnold. No, dude.
Get to the chopper.
No. You shouldn't. Why would you? The only worst casting that I've seen in my life was the new Borderlands movie. Oh my god. We got to get Roland. Who should we get? Roland. You know, the giant, jacked black guy who kicks ass. Let's get Kevin Hart. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Like,
in saying that, I wouldn't have expected Danny DeVito to be such a good villain, but he played the role brilliantly, you know.
Danny DeVito was in Borderlands?
In the Batman movies.
Oh. That makes more sense. I was like, he was in Borderlands? Who the fuck did he play? Was he Claptrap? Yeah, he was great as the Penguin. Disturbing.
It just worked, you know, like it suited that role.
Yeah, he did a really good job. So Batman Returns, the second one, that's a creepy movie. It's like really dark. Like
That's
in
one.
general. It's like I don't know, even as a kid, I was like, this doesn't seem very kiddish movie. This is like an adult movie. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. You guys feel the same way? I love Batman Returns. A lot of people say they don't like it, but I think it's the best one out of one. As an adult, I think it's the best one in the series. So.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, great movies. I'll be good in 4K.
Hell yeah. My girlfriend's super excited. She's like, more fucking Batman. How much Batman is there? I'm like, oh, there's so much. Wait till we get to the animated stuff. She's like, I ain't watching no cartoons.
I got a few things to show this week. So I picked this up because it got delisted on the store.
Nice.
And I didn't want it to like blow up in price without me being able to get a copy. So I got it for like $48, which is pre-owned price. I've noticed on eBay they're already starting to like creep up. Some have sold for like $70. So yeah, Triangle Strategy. It's meant to be all right. I don't know why it got delisted. But Square Enix just said that they're taking the game down and then haven't got an announcement on when it's going back up.
It's a good game.
Here's one that I bought through thanks to Joe and Reggie showing it off. And then I think Speed Killer said that it was hard to get, so I tried to get it and struggled. Couldn't find it anywhere. I ended up getting a copy from New Zealand. So this is the Australian version of Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. There's already a copy on eBay that's sold for $170 in Australia.
That's so
sold
crazy.
out. So I expect this one to be one of those games that's quite hard to find in the future. You can find the Switch version easy, but this PS4 copy's just disappeared. So I'm so happy to have it in the collection. And it has Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Let's go. It's probably the main reason I bought it. Also one.
PS4 copies of games are getting rarer and rarer, my friend. Like, we're at the end for sure.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we should have been at the end 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm happy we're still even getting them, but it's getting like a lot of them are getting canceled or they're only getting released in one region.
Well, something like this is
stuff like
interesting
that.
because it didn't get the PS5 version. So it's like, well, that's the only version there is. So you'd think it wouldn't be hard to get, but it's like they're still being sold like there is a PS5 version out there.
It's weird.
The next pickups are all from EB Games. They had like a crazy Monday sale. It went up at midnight. Website was absolutely broken. It took me until like 4 a.m. to actually be able to order things. I had to order everything individually. So I did like 20 items. I haven't got them all here. I bought a bunch of like coffee cups for $1 and things like that. But every item I had to order individually. But I got some cool games. Here we have Slave 0X. This was $14. It's like a 2.5D action game. It looks pretty cool.
I haven't played it yet, but it looks insane. And everybody says like the controls are like really intricate. And like it's like a 2D, almost like Devil May Cry, where you can do like all these combos and crazy shit.
Yeah,
and
it looks
fighting.
cool. It actually
looks
comes
really
with
fun.
a manual too, a little cute guidebook. Which
And
for a Switch game, you don't usually get manuals in Switch games, so I'm happy with that. And for $14, you can't say no. I've already showed this one off, but I got the Suicide Squad, and it was $5. I picked up a few copies. I'll probably sell the other ones, but for $5, I won't say no. I will leave it sealed, but like I was saying, the servers are getting taken down, but they are adding an offline mode, so you can still play it, which is cool. But for $5, I won't say no for a PS5 game, you know. This was $8. It sort of looks like Castlevania.
Nice.
It's called Moon Scars. And it's like a Castlevania type game, basically. It looks cool.
Yes.
I looked up the reviews. They weren't amazing, but yeah, for $8. What were you going to say, Joe?
I was gonna say that's like there's like a whole like genre of dark gothic 2D Metroidvanias like Blasphemous, Moon Scars, Faith. What the hell is it? There's a whole bunch of them now, dude. It's funny.
It also comes with an art booklet and a map, which is pretty cool. I love modern games coming with all that type of stuff. For $8, I'm not collecting PS5 yet, but I will start a collection at this price. And I guess that's what most of these games are. This was $7. I actually have no idea what this is really. It's called Misera Chronicles. It's sort of like a first-person shooter. You shoot, aliens and things like that. It includes an art book as well. It's quite heavy. For $7, I'll put it in the collection. Brand new and sealed. Here's one that I really wanted. I've been waiting a long time for it. It dropped to $32, which is the cheapest I've seen it. And that is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
There you
A
go.
sealed copy. As you guys know, I'm playing Geoguessr right now quite seriously, so I'm not going to play this yet. The plan is
It's a quick playthrough. You should just throw it on this weekend. You'll bang it out.
Plan is I will leave this sealed until I want to play it, and then I might sell my copy and buy a used one, and hopefully it'll cost me nothing to play it. That'll be the idea, but we'll see what happens. But excited to have this finally, especially for $32, and I'll leave it in the collection for now.
I told you I put like 160 hours into that game or something.
Crazy.
And I intended to do everything in that game, and nah. Just after
You always
after
go into those
160 hours, I
intentions.
was like, okay, I'm done. No more Final Fantasy, please. Where I want to see credits, motherfuckers. Let's go. So yeah.
So I did my orders on Sunday night, picked them up Monday, and then Monday afternoon they were doing like every hour we're gonna clear out games. So it was obviously a sale to clear out stock, but you could get some good deals. And I ended up getting Small Land Survive the Wilds for $5.
I got
It's another one of those like you shrink down, you're small and insect type games, which seems to be popular right now. There's a few of them that are all the same. But for $5, I won't say no for a PS5 game, that's for sure. And again, it's got a booklet.
So we're getting a trend here. All the games have got manuals.
Is that exclusive over there? I don't think I've ever even seen that.
No idea. I'd never heard of it before, I'll be honest.
It's available over here. I was on sale on Woot for a little while. Woot woot.
Most of the stuff I bought either for Christmas presents or for eBay or for the kitchen. But I bought this for the collection, and it was a Zelda glow-in-the-dark controller, and it was $14. So I'm not going to say no for a $14 Switch controller. It is corded, but usually when I'm playing the Switch, it's on a monitor or something, so it doesn't bother me personally, having a cord compared to a wireless one. But I'll probably just leave this sealed, leave it for the collection. So I love Zelda. It's a cool controller. Yeah, and that's all we got. Some cool stuff in there.
There's not. Hey, it is always good to have a corded controller, especially if you stream and if like you're trying to do something that's important. Because I used to play The Binding of Isaac religiously, and I used to do Eden streaks, which is you just try to win as many times as in a row without dying. And I was using a wireless controller one day, and the controller died, and my character went wee and just ran across the screen, and I lost like a 200 win streak, and I lost it because my character just ran off and died, and I was like, I'm never using wireless again. I was like, it's plugging in. F that. Like I was like, that was it. So now
You're taking me back to when I played PUBG, and you'd be 1-on-1 at the end on Xbox, and the batteries would die, and you just see the dude like run into the blue and kill himself. Like it was a thing. It got that popular that would happen that often that people would know when people's controllers would die and be like, I won because I could see the dude just running and his controller must have died.
Yeah, dude, that's yep.
All right. So I got some pretty good pickups over the last couple of weeks, even though I shouldn't be buying games.
Hey,
so we're streaming Tales of Berseria, and we got to talking about the origins of the Tales game. So I picked up Tales of Fantasia. Came with, again, not complete, but beautiful book. I got that for like $25, plus like a couple dollars shipping. So that was pretty cool to have. And like I said, it works great with the Retron or the Game Boy player on the GameCube. And then I picked up, this was pretty cool because it completed.
A repro.
No, that's a real thing.
Okay, I didn't know that game came out on Game Boy Advance. No.
Yeah. And then I got so into it, I actually have on order, I think it's going to come in tomorrow or the next day, the cross edition of the game that has an extra character and some more story. Character named Rondaline. She looks really cool. It's in Japanese, but it's PSP. And again, like the game's pretty straightforward. And if you've played through the beginning of it, you really don't need to know the text. So other than the few new parts that were added, I think I'll do all right and be able to get to the part where I can use her because she looks neat. And then this completed my Metal Gear Solid collection. I have everything now. I picked up these two. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. Nice find. And I got that one for 10. And then I got this one at a pawn shop. I got this, I want to say, for like $5. And this is Acid. So that was the last one I needed. I have all of them now. I was glad to be able to complete that. And then a couple other randos. I'm a huge
games with the Metal Gear that are expensive. I don't know if it's the Acid 2 or Peace Walker or there's like 4 games or something like that, I think.
Yeah, some of them are pretty up there. And then, so this, I'm a huge Musou guy. I had never tried any of the Sengoku Basara games, the Capcom, basically, Dynasty Warriors, for Samurai Wars. And I finally picked one up. This was in GameStop the other day. 17 is a little bit much. I want to say it books for like 12 or 13, but it's the first time I've ever seen it. So I was super excited to get my hands on it. It doesn't have the book, but I was still just happy to get it. I definitely want to try that out fairly soon. And I did pick up 2 Switch games that had come out a while ago, but I just didn't grab them until recently. Monster Hunter Stories 1 and 2. Started playing that because I actually did a video on valuable amiibos, and all of the rider amiibos from Monster Hunter Stories are super valuable. So they're featured in there. And I'm like, how have I not played those games? So I picked that up. I actually started playing one. It's cute. It's not super in-depth, though. And I had to get this. I still haven't opened it, but I eventually will. The Tomb Raider collection. Can't pass that up. So, but yeah,
So
that's
actually,
what I picked up.
Can I tell a quick story? I bought Monster Hunter Stories 1 off of Macari for like $40 or something. I paid for this or whatever. And it got shipped and it never showed up. And after like 2-3 weeks, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Where's this game? And they were like, let's see. We put in a tracking number. It was lost. And so they refunded me like, we can't find it. It's gone. It's never coming, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, no big deal. And like 6 months later, I'm not even exaggerating, like 6 months later, this motherfucker just showed up at my house in a bag in my mailbox. And I was like, what? Like, I was so happy, man. So it's a free game. I didn't even have to pay for this.
Yeah, Speed Killer. They had to be imported, and they're super expensive. It's awesome, though. The riders are interchangeable on them and everything. It's really cool.
Yeah, the Basara games, I think I saw one on PS3, maybe?
Yeah, I think that one was also released on the
that
PS3.
one is on PS3. The one you just showed.
Yeah. Very cool. Sorry to interrupt. I was just, when you show, anytime someone shows Monster Hunter Stories, I'm like, oh, I get so excited. I got that for free.
But I definitely wish I had some of those amiibos. But like everyone else, like they weren't a priority to import at the time. I don't think people thought they were going to be as popular as they were. And the rider ones are popular, and the little cat dude is super expensive too. And he's not even like interchangeable. But they're like ridiculous. They're all like 80 to like $150.
Jeez. It's insane. So do you have a big amiibo collection then?
It's like half of the bedroom wall.
Oh my God.
I keep them all. Like I had a lot, but I started buying the little card decks because they make like little tiny NFC cards that come in like little. They're like a knockoff thing, but like I bought the whole Zelda series that you could use with Smash and Breath of the Wild. It comes in like a little tiny plastic case. I love those. So I did open some. I probably have like 30 or 40 loose ones, but we probably have like 100 sealed that are tacked up on the walls.
Nice.
So. But yeah, I mean, I don't have everything, but I have most of the valuable amiibos. But
that's the tough thing about amiibos is that you want to use them, but you don't want to open them.
Right.
So it's a tough thing. I've seen people like do like fancy things where they go in and like cut out the bottom underneath the thing so you can scan it through the package and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they have that little piece in there that's so awful.
Yeah, I
have 0 amiibos because I'm a hardcore collector. It's own all of them or nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. If I buy one of them, I'm going to have about 40 of them at least. So, yeah. Very cool. You got anything else you want to show?
No, I don't. I've been trying to slow down some as far as the buys. So that's like a small amount compared to normal.
Oh, no. Trust me, this week was a light week after the Black Friday debacle. Like 35 games I showed off. I had to stop.
I was so proud. I bought
Black
nothing.
Friday stuff rock up yet, waiting for it in the mail. So
Nothing. I bought a monitor at Walmart for $125. That's it.
Yeah, let's get it. That's a good price. What size?
It is a 27, I think. It's curved. It was one of the
What's up, Inferno Fog?
Predator ones. So,
well, you're a disciplined man, my sir. Like, because I went crazy. Like I said, my biggest, most toxic buying habit is, oh, that's a good deal.
yeah.
Shit, I gotta get that. Shit, that's a good deal. And that's pretty much what I did for like a week and a half before Black Friday. And again, this year, I feel like all the good deals were way before Black Friday. Like the cheap RPGs, all the ones I got for like $20, they were all sold out by Black Friday. They were
Yeah,
gone.
I feel like companies now have to put things out earlier to get people spending money first. So the deals are becoming earlier and earlier and earlier. You watch next year, well,
for a few years, we're gonna see like September Black Friday sales.
Yeah.
or early Black Friday August sale.
Christmas in July.
Yeah, and then you know what sucks though is like now you got Christmas coming up, and it's like no deals for nothing. Everything's expensive again. I'm like, come on, what the heck happened here? Like, Black Friday used to be the start of the sales, and the sales would stay until Christmas. And on Black Friday itself, they'd have like doorbusters. They'd have some crazy things. So you might miss out on the insane deal on a TV or insane cheap whatever, but the sales would still go on. And now it's like all the sales start before Black Friday, and then they cut them off on Cyber Monday, and then like that's it. It's like, I don't know. But another thing too, I just want to point out is like, as somebody who's like constantly buying 4K DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that, some of the Black Friday deals were more expensive than they normally were. Just so you know. So there'd be DVDs that they couldn't sell if they wanted to. They were desperately trying to sell them. They're $10.99. They're trying to get these things out the door, and on Black Friday they're on sale for $14.99.
So the biggest thing that I saw that kind of disappointed me as a physical collector with Black Friday was that. So I've been a manager with Walmart for 25 years almost. That's been my career, and I have seen over the years the shippers of games and movies that we would get every year go down and down and down. And then this year, for our Black Friday morning sale, we had one single PDQ of games. I counted 30 games in it. And nothing that was crazy. The best thing in there was the Sonic Generation Shadow that was like $10 off. They sold out right away because it was only one PDQ of games. But I remember 10, 15 years ago putting out like 30 PDQs of games and being terrified to cut the wrap off of it because like maniacs were like assaulting you. And literally now one PDQ that was just plopped in front of the game case, it sold out in like an hour, and that was it. We had nothing else. We had Switch controllers that were like $20 off and PS5 controllers that were like $25 off. Like the video game deals sucked.
It's sad. But that's modern collecting. It's like they're just not producing what they used to, and most games are getting sold digitally and things like that.
Because I remember part of the excitement back, as a person that worked at Walmart, when you were done with your shift, like I always worked overnight and set the stuff up. So when I left at 7 or 8 in the morning, the initial rush had happened, but I still wanted to look through like the remnants, and there was still a lot of games and movies to look through. See if you can grab some deals. There's nothing. I just went home. I didn't even bother looking. The monitor I wanted, we had like 50 of them. I'm like, I'll just get that tomorrow. Like, it's really sad.
Yeah, it's nothing like it used to be. I remember I used to do private security for a while, and like they would ask you to do random odd jobs every once in a while. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to do that? And they would always ask me like, we'll pay you triple time to do Black Friday. And I'd be like, nah, no.
Yeah.
Nah. I'm like, I'm like, that's actual work. Like, that's like, I would actually have to like secure, like, and like control people and shit. Like, for real. I'm like, and I
don't give my job.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, in security, 99% of it's just theater. You're not doing anything. You're just there they don't want you to do anything. It used to drive me crazy. Like, you aren't like, say someone's stealing, like you can't just run up and tackle them. Like, you're not allowed to. You have to like, I had to work with the police all the time and get them to stop people, and it was such a fucking pain in the ass. I'm like, you can't even freaking regulate. What's the point of this? It's stupid. So
you say that, Joe. I worked in a supermarket like this is probably like 2018, and the security guard was this guy who was in the army for like 20 years, and he was like, he was crazy guy.
So was I.
I was stealing one day. He put him in a headlock and held him down for like 10 minutes and called the police.
Well, you weren't supposed. I didn't say I didn't do stuff like that. I just said you weren't supposed to.
Joe will mess you up.
I didn't. I never hurt anybody. I just scared people. I was very good at filling up a doorway and not getting through it. So that's the key. If they do anything to you, you are allowed to respond. So what you would do is I would stand in the doorway, and if you tried to get by me or touch me or whatever, I'd be like, you assaulted me first. And so I had to take them down. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't let them leave. Like they didn't have an option to not do that. Dude, one time this guy, he was working with this other guy and tried to steal baby formula. And I caught him at the door and I literally like ripped his shirt off as he was running out the door, and he went running down the street with no shirt on. It just made me laugh so hard. And it wasn't hard to catch him. I called the cops. I'm like, look for the fat guy with no shirt on running down the main road. That's him. Like, it was like, oh man. I have so many crazy stories from doing that job. But the best part about that job was when I used to watch the empty parking lots overnight doing security, because there were a couple car dealerships. People had been stealing like tires off of cars and stuff. They go in the middle of the night and steal shit from the cars. So they hired security to watch the parking lot overnight. And brother, I played so much PSP. Oh my goodness, did I get my money's worth out of the PSP? I would just
You're getting paid to play PSP.
Hell yeah, dude! I used to just chill in my car with the radio on and with my PSP, watching movies, playing games, and every like once in a while, I just have to drive around, check on things, make sure everything's locked up, make sure no one's screwing around. That's it. That's all I had to do. But
I love it,
bro. I mean, it is a boring existence. Let me tell you, it's not fun to sit there and just do nothing and play PSP. I mean, it is fun, but after a while, you're like, I want to go home. This is ridiculous. Like it's not stimulating. I would rather actually like have something to do than do nothing. I don't like to get paid to do absolutely nothing. It's fucking boring. So
anyway. At least you took advantage of it and made it into something, you know.
Oh yeah, it was fine for
what guards who did it who didn't have the PSPs and just sat there the whole time.
Oh dude, it was so sick. That's back in the day, man, when I like them UMDs, them movies, they were huge, dude. I loved watching movies on my little PSP, dude. I sit there in my car and hook it up to the little auxiliary jack audio and put to the speakers and watch Bad Boys and shit like that. What's that?
Do you still have a lot of them?
I don't have a lot of my UMDs. I traded in a lot of my stuff for my PSP back in the day.
I only have like 20, but I treasure them.
Well, that's a fun thing to collect. They're cheap.
Yeah.
Like
most of them. Some of them are expensive. There's some really hard to find UMDs out there.
Yes, but I feel like it's still one of those things where like people won't know if they have expensive UMDs. I don't know. The only thing I don't like about UMDs is the people who are stupid who don't understand they're not games. And you'll go to buy like a PSP bundle and they're like, I have 15 games. I'm like, you have 5 games and you have 10 movies.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving you $20 a piece for these fucking crappy movies. That's not happening, friends. He's like, what are you talking about? I got 15 games. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, that is not a game, motherfucker. You have, American Pie. That is not a game. I wish it was, but it's not.
The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I know it looks like a game, but it's not.
That's funny.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I wish they would come out with like a consoleized UMD player with like an HDMI output, so you could like stream, watch your movies that way, or hook a controller up and play PSP games that way. And I know
it would have to be like a third party company because Sony don't care about their old.
No. I want Analog to come out with it or something. I want Analog to make something like that. But even if Analog made it, they would just make a new PSP. They wouldn't make a.
The crazy thing is, I was talking to somebody the other day specifically about Analog and those kind of companies. Why the hell has no one made something that will HDMI stream DS games?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist. You can send your DS away for like $200 and trust somebody to put a Wi-Fi thing in it so you can stream, and half the time they'll steal your shit. But you can't. There is literally no machine that anyone has made that you can pop a DS card into and you can have it go to a TV or go to your computer to stream. It doesn't exist, and it drives me crazy that it doesn't. I even set up my computer, one of my webcams, I set it up downwards for 2 reasons. If I ever wanted to try to show gameplay, that's the only way. You have it look downwards and you flip the image, and you can just barely have your thumbs on there and not be in the way. And I do it for readings on game magazines. Like we did a EGM a couple of weeks ago, It got shit reviews, so I don't think I'll do it again, but it was fun to do. But like, yeah, you literally, that's the only way. Like, you can tip your camera down and reverse the picture, and you could stream that game. But there's no way to play DS games on a TV or stream them, and it breaks my heart. Unless you want to trust somebody to do a $200 mod to your system.
Yeah, that's so.
Like, would you send one of your DSs away? I wouldn't.
No, that type of service I would only do to, like, if someone locally had a shop or something that I could go and, you know, see it and talk to other people who had done it. I wouldn't ship my stuff off. I would have anxiety shipping something off to even have it graded.
Yeah.
And I've heard it's even worse if you're an international person.
Yeah, you have to like customs is the scariest part for me.
Yeah, so I've heard that, like, there are people that will ship a sealed game out to have it graded, and customs will open it.
Ooh.
And be like, well, we got to make sure there's no peanut butter in here. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, and they'll open the game.
I've heard too many horror stories. I'm keeping my games graded. So.
I just couldn't have that happen.
And it's like you'd grade your most expensive games, but then you'd have to ship your most expensive games. No. Unless I could like drive there in person and do it, I'm not getting it done.
Yeah.
And
Jen,
they
I
used
think
to
we
have
might
that for like
call
sports
that one
cars,
a
but
night.
they don't really do the in-person gradings anymore either. They'll do like pre-gradings where they'll give you what they think the estimate is, and then they will keep them with them, and then they will start the process, and then it will get shipped back to you for sports cards. Like if you go to like a convention, but otherwise, yeah, you got to send them out. And I can't imagine sending out, like, I was a huge sports card collector, and I have a Brady 2000 Fleer Metal Gem, the Emerald Rookie. Even raw, it's like $600-700. I would not, if I could get that to grade at like an 8 or higher, it'd be worth thousands of dollars. I'd be afraid to send it out. So it sits there raw because I won't put it out there. Like, that would be too crazy.
Yeah, I would only do that if I was like in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I would take it there and drop it off and be able to pick it up later that week or something like that. I don't know. It's not for me. And, you know, in general, I have trouble justifying the sealed stuff I have in my collection, let alone grading stuff. So I don't know. It's not for me. There might be something someday that I grade, like if I ever get some super rare thing that's in perfect case condition, but I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea in general. But yeah, we are a little over 2 hours. One quick. That was a great show.
Good deal.
Cold Nights
Thanks
Gaming.
for coming on, man. It was fun.
Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so I'm basically on all the socials. I don't do any of like the weird hippie ones, like Threads or Blue Sky. Like, I'm gonna stick it out on Twitter with all the drama. I don't care.
Me too.
I'm guys, like, the crazy thing is people are walking away from it, and they've got like 2,000 or 3,000 followers. Why the hell would you walk away from that? Do you know how hard it is to build that back up again? Like, I had 2,000, but so many people are leaving. I'm down to like 1,800. But like, that's a lot of people. Like, people are starting over on Blue Sky and they have like 50 followers, and they're content creators that have like 10K subscribers. And I'm like,
They'll be back.
why would you do that? But yeah, so Cold Nights Gaming everywhere, except for on Twitter. It's Cold Nights Gami 1 because I got locked out of my original account like 10 years ago. So that was the best I could do.
Down in the comments, I did link your YouTube, Instagram, and your
Good deal.
X.
Yeah, I just started using Instagram again, and I'm freaking loving being able to add music. Like, I posted my Sonic Adventure 2 game, and they actually had Escape from the City as a selectable song. So I got to post my game with Escape from the City playing. I was like, I love Instagram.
I do.
But yeah, we're not currently active on Twitch. We were big on Twitch last year. We've been streaming pretty much exclusively on YouTube. So if you got to see me, that's where you got to see me. So,
well, if you guys haven't already, please go and subscribe to Cold Nights. It's got great content. I really do enjoy the videos that he puts out.
thank you.
Like I said, he just hit 1,000 subs. I was going to get you over the 1,000 hub today was my plan, but you had to go and do it before the show started. So I was like, okay, well, I guess that's okay. I do want to point out, though, just in general, our buddy Nerdy Nick from the N Squared podcast has been on the show. He's at like 990 subs right now, guys, like super close to 1,000. So if you are, watching right now and you haven't subbed to the N Squared podcast, I would appreciate it if you do that. Try to get him over to 1,000 before New Year's. I think that'd be really cool. and then I might as well shamelessly self-promote. I would, if you would like the show, and you enjoy watching the show, and you've like maybe watched it more than once, I would also appreciate it if you hit the like button, the share button, and then subscribe to my channel and Figsy's channel too. That'd be great. Appreciate it, guys. This Thursday we are going to have another episode. It's going to be a special puzzle game episode, and we have JRPG Life coming on, or at least Dan. I don't know if Elise is going to make it, but Dan will be here, and then he might even be bringing a friend as well from Mort's Attic show. That's all I'll say, but it's not Mort. I'm pretty sure his buddy is going to come as well. And that's going to be Thursday, and that's going to be all about puzzle games, so that should be really fun. And then I believe the following week is Christmas, right? Is that right? Is that next week Christmas, or is the week after?
No, one more.
I think it's the
One
week after.
Okay, cool. So then we'll figure out what we're going to do for the following week, and then we'll take Christmas off. So, but yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. This was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it.
Have a good night, everyone.
And see you guys next time. Let's see if I hit this end stream button if it plays the video. Play outro and end stream. I think it's going to work. See you guys.
You found the coolest place to be, the PlayStation Collecting Season. Come on, won't you stay with me? Welcome to the show. Gather round the boys and girls, collectors from around the world. Let's show the people what they need to know. Welcome to the show. Gonna talk to guests, only got the best. Gonna put their knowledge to the test. Gonna laugh and eat, gonna live the creed. Gonna show you things you've never seen. Gonna sing a song to the break of dawn. Gonna rock this party all night long. So come on, everybody, let me see you dance. Get yourself ready, you got one more chance. You found the coolest place to be.